god to me. Let's be real. A
I
beautiful goddess
made
was
you.
descended.
I
You made
turned you into a femboy. I
You
made
did.
you. You want to
Hold on.
introduce yourself to my chat?
Sure, I would love to do that. Hello, everyone. My name is ScaryBerry. I am an imp VTuber. I am a trans man, therefore my pronouns are he, him. I am an indie streamer, a variety streamer. I play everything. I mainly play Dead by Daylight, but we're not gonna talk about that. I'm bad at every video game I play, and that's my selling point. Also, I really love Nyara. Thank you for supporting her. She deserves the 5,000 followers.
It's always kind of impressive because like I used to stream to like nobody for like such a long time, and I wanted to give up so many times. When I started posting on TikTok, I was like too scared to like share my voice and all that stuff because like getting misgendered. And eventually I just like started doing like scripted content where it was just like talking about being trans in the Overwatch community, and it kind of blew up and a lot of people relate to it.
You helped me realize why I wasn't happy as a woman. You helped me get through a lot, actually, and I'm eternally grateful. And I'm not the only one that you've helped. Your community reflects that. They love and adore you. You honestly deserve everything that you have. I'm trying not to cry, I promise. I'm a big boy. I'll never forget the first time I saw one of your videos. It was with that little cat model, and then I saw you again, but your voice was different. And I was like, oh, and then you didn't post for a while. And I was like, where did they go? I really liked them. And then you came back and you were different. And I was like, oh my god, they're trans, wait, hold on! I love them, wait! And then I kept watching your content and you talked about gender affirming stuff, and I was like, hold on a second, I'm unhappy. Let me dig more into this. And I went online and I did a bunch of research, and I came back and I'm like, oh my god. And then I came out to my husband, and it was one of the best days of my life. It felt good. He called me a good boy, but we're not gonna talk about that. It felt good.
I'm so proud of you. This makes me so happy. You
Honestly,
are a good boy.
Yes, I am. I'm a very good boy.
You're a very good boy. I'm really proud of you. It makes me really happy when people can embrace who they are. When you hear something that like relate to, and it's like, it makes so much sense. I was like always confused. And now,
Because back in high school, I'm 20 now, but back in high school, I was always referred to as a girl. And like anytime someone would refer to me with my dead name, I'd be like, what? What do you want? Leave me alone. You know, and I thought I was just moody, you know, as teenagers are. But no, I was just genuinely unhappy. I didn't like the clothes I was wearing. I tried so hard to fit in like the other girls. I tried so hard to look cute. I tried so hard to learn makeup. I worked my ass off to try to be this perfect little girl that my parents wanted, when that's not who I was supposed to be.
Yeah, I grew up with an older brother who was like 7 years older than me. My parents always like bullied me for being like emotional and not like a real boy. And I was in school, and we went to 5th grade, which is like a switch from like elementary school to like a new school. And we had English class. We had the quest to introduce a partner in English to the class, and my partner didn't know what to say because they had like no idea about like English. And like on the blackboard there were like example sentences, and it started with she is. He just like read that, and I was like, why does that actually feel right? For the classmates it was like a running gag all the time to call me a girl, and I was like, why doesn't that offend me? And I was playing a game at the time. It was S4 League. It's like an anime third-person shooter, and I picked a female character. Everybody like in the lobby like always like referred to me as she and so and so. And I was like looking at the outfits and stuff, and I was like, I wanna wear that. The education system wasn't good at the time, so I googled, why do I wanna wake up as a girl and all these things, and I found like misogynistic stuff, sissy hypnosis king shit, and I was like really like gross. I blocked this off because I was like, this doesn't feel right. When I learn about like femboys and I put on a skirt and I look in the mirror, like, why am I crying? I think like with 17, 18, I learned about like what being trans was, and that is like different. I was always like, I don't want to be trans. What I'm learning about the stuff regarding like trans community and all these things, like it's I don't want to be that, but I also don't want to be a femboy because that doesn't make me happy. And it took me a long time to just like get through this and work through like all the misinformation and like hatred and all that stuff. And eventually I was like, if I'm not going to come out and give this a shot, like I don't see a future for myself. I was pretty much alone with all of this when I started making content, and actually had people come to my community and tell me that I'm not alone. It meant a lot to me, and I think it's really important for more people to just embrace who they are.
I was forced to stay closeted my entire life. I came out a couple months ago. I lived with my parents who adopted me from my biological parents. I know them now. Super awesome. They accept me. They love me. But my adoptive parents, they were anti-LGBTQ everything. I brought home a girlfriend for the first time and she was trans. And the way my mom reacted broke me. She said that we don't mess with those types of people, and she made me send her home. And I was so discouraged. And I eventually told her, I'm like, hey, you know, I'm pansexual. I know that you don't know what that means, but I may not end up with a man. And then she was like, yeah, no, you're not doing that. Nobody's gonna love you if you want to sleep with women. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I never got to, you know, explore who I was growing up. I never got to be myself because I was so scared of the rejection I would get from my family. After I moved in with my husband, it feels so freeing. It feels so good to be myself. I finally got to explore all my options. I got to explore myself. And I've never been happier. I used to be so depressed. Now I have a smile on my face almost 24/7 and it feels good.
I'm really glad that you get out of this environment. I feel like that is like the problem in society, is that like a lot of people are just like so scared of losing their family or like the friends that they have, so they just like try to put on this mask and pretend, because losing shitty friends and being all alone is better than is worse than, wait, what did I say?
You said
having having shitty oh my God. Having shitty friends is better than being alone type of situation. The reality of it is like, no, it's not. Your happiness is more important than other people's comfort, and you need to like embrace who you are. And like, obviously you have to be in an environment that lets you do that. Like sometimes you have to like just pretend for a couple of years until you're safe enough and you're able to sustain yourself. And that's kind of how I felt. It took me till I was like 22. I fought for 3 years. I don't think I could have done this fight without people who supported me.
Yeah, it's always going to be a struggle when you don't have the support that you need. I try to surround myself with people who care about me. She's gonna hate me for saying this, but for example, my best friend Himi, she's been there for me. We've known each other for 2 years. She knew me back before I started my transition, and she has supported me all the way.
That's awesome.
Don't tell me to stop. Sorry. Don't tell me to stop. Shut up. I love you, Himi.
I feel like people underestimate how important it is to just let other people know that you're there for them and like actually mean it.
I need to say something. If you have friends and you come out to them, it takes all your strength to do that, and they just fucking drop you right then and there or tell you, I'm not all for that, but we can still be friends, right? Those aren't your friends. Those were never your friends. Kick them to the curb. Get rid of them.
This is like, you're not like these other trans people, you know, the trans people you hear in the media who want to go into the women's restroom and all these things. Like, you're one of the good ones, right?
I had to delete 40 comments from one of my videos about that, saying that people in the LGBTQ community were just there to do things to children. And I just sat there staring at it, and I'm like,
yeah, it's gross.
Oh, hey, cool.
Like, the language that they're using is incredibly toxic, and we are like portrayed as these like villains who just dress up as women and go into women's spaces. You look at the statistic and it's like, no, that doesn't actually happen. But like, the problem with like allowing this type of rhetoric is incredibly destructive. Hey everyone, editing Nyara here. I just wanted to clarify that the tweet that I'm showing came from a bot and not from an actual human being, but the point still stands because I've seen actual human people use this type of language when talking about trans women. They are not the people we are talking about when we talk about men insisting they're women barging into women's bathrooms, sharing jail cells, and otherwise threatening women. And it's like, this type of language is like incredibly hurtful, because we know that like trans people are 4 times more likely to be abused. This rhetoric creates so many like issues, and it incites so much violence and hatred, and I think people have been getting away with it like too much. It's so exhausting, because like, if I didn't like work through this bullshit, I would be transphobic too. I would be like, I don't like being a man. I don't want to be a man. I want to wake up as a girl. At least I'm not trying to transition and go into women's bathrooms and hurt people. Like, I'm not like these weirdos who do this. And it's like so much misinformation, and like even people who are trans don't want to come out as trans because they believe the lies of right-wingers. And
It's scary.
yeah.
Because as a trans man, I still have to use the women's bathroom and my hair's short. I'm scared that I'm gonna go in there and someone's gonna just start screaming at me to get out, and I'm gonna be like, why? I just gotta go pee.
Like this already happens with like cis women, like with masked lesbians.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't really matter like which restroom we use. Like if someone has an issue with you, like you're the target, you're the victim. It's more about just like going somewhere where you can like kind of blend in. But like especially if you're like in the middle of this transitioning period, like you don't really fit in anywhere, you know. Like I made the switch going from the men's restroom and into the women's restroom because like I got weird looks when I went into the men's restroom. I was at a point where when I go into the women's restroom and I come out, I have men look at me and they know like which restroom they go in. And it's like, I'm tall, I have broad shoulders, my hair isn't like extremely long, all these things. Like you fixate on like all these flaws, but like normal people are just like looking at you and like, oh woman, oh man, they just don't put a thought into it. But like with this whole like narrative that like, you know, we gotta be careful of this man hiding in the shadows who's just going to put on a dress and then he's going to assault your kids and all these things. Like it creates this shadow figure where like people just walk down the streets and they're wondering which woman they see has a penis.
So my thought process is, do you think I would put in this much effort? Like, you think I would go get surgeries? You think I would put myself on medication that if I was genuinely a cis woman or cis man, would you think I'd put myself through that just so I can go, you know, do things to people? Do you think I would put that much effort in? No. Look at the guys all over the news. Look at they literally put in no effort like that. They just walk in. We're genuinely depressed until we're who we are meant to be.
These people like focus so much on like making biological women spaces and all these things, and like who is being stopped? Bad people are not being stopped because of a sign. That's why we don't have no crime signs everywhere. If like a bad person was like, oh well, I can't follow you in there, I wanted to abuse you, but like I can't follow you in there because like the sign says it's just for women and I'm not a woman, so I guess I'm going to go home now. Like this doesn't happen.
That sign cannot stop you because you're just gonna ignore it.
Who are the people who are going to get stopped by these things? Trans people who don't want to like make other people uncomfortable, so they go into the restroom that doesn't align with their gender identity and then they get abused. If you're being forced into the wrong restroom and you like stand out, you're the one who's going to get abused. But like the general public isn't even uncomfortable with trans women peeing in women's restrooms because they know that we just go in there to pee. We're just standing in line, we're going into the stall, we go outside, we wash our hands, and then we go outside. It's just so frustrating to be like stuck in a world where people worry about the wrong 1% and we're just like a minority. And like, what are we going to do? Like most people probably have never interacted with a trans person in real life.
I'll go into Walmart, I'll be walking with Nate, my partner. People will they'll grab their kids by the hand and walk in the opposite direction, and it bothers me because I used to work with kids. I used to do an after school program for the kids whose parents didn't care about them and left them at school or couldn't pick them up on time. I think kids are the future, and you're over here actively showing them, kids imitate their parents, and you're actively showing them anyone who looks like that right there, stay away from that.
Imagine you grow up in an environment where everyone has either black or brown hair, and you only consume media where people have black and brown hair, and then you see someone with red hair in the wild, and it's like, what is this? This is different, this is unfamiliar, like they must be cursed, they must be demons. And like we see this happening. We actually know that people who have like red hair are being like demonized, and this is the same with like LGBTQ stuff. And I think like in America, it's like we are seeing a time period of change and people fighting really hard to go back. This is why this doesn't just affect trans people. Like this hate anti-LGBTQ propaganda, like it includes lesbian, gay people as well.
There are some men that genuinely sound feminine, and there's nothing they can do about that.
Yeah.
Like cis men. My brother-in-law, he genuinely sounds feminine, but He's big, he's got a beard, he gets weird looks because he sounds feminine. People call him ma'am on the phone. He's in danger of being ridiculed because of that.
Before I came out, I've been through this too, and I actually like artificially forced my voice deeper in order to like blend in for a really long time. I restricted myself because of societal like backlash and all these things. And like cis women experience that too. If a cis woman is tall, then they are also like being seen as, oh, what if they're trans? Like they're so like stuck in this like, oh, everybody is trans, and it's like, oh, real women, they have to look exactly like this, and everyone who doesn't fit into this narrow description is like not a woman anymore. A lot of things that we consider like masculine or feminine, there's a lot of like overlap. Just because you have XX chromosomes doesn't mean you can't be tall. Just because you have XX chromosomes doesn't mean that you can't have a receding hairline or whatnot. Like you can't have a big nose. You like hyper fixate on these like details, and you're like, every man has this, every woman has this, and everyone who doesn't fall into like this category is like other.